trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I'm an expert, and I'm a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida. Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening.
Wow.
It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You are now inside of the doghouse, and you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick and Bone Crusher and the Invisible AG. Well, maybe the Invisible Caveman Rick, if you're used to seeing Caveman Rick the way that I'm used to seeing him. Talk to him for 45 seconds. You were standing behind me.
More than that, man. We
walked all the way outside.
Walked all the way outside before you got outside and noticed.
I turn around and I'm like, whoa, what in the world? Caveman Rick has shaved the face off. So make sure you head on over to Facebook right now, ESPN Northwest Florida, and check out the new lack of facial hair for Caveman Rick.
It's kind of like MTV did back in the 90s. Remember, after Eric Clapton had his Unplugged album, and then a lot of other bands followed suit and did an Unplugged segment, like an hour-long special. This is Caveman Uncaved, I guess.
Caveman Uncaved, man. He is starting to love nets at Major League Baseball stadiums. He just, I don't know what's going on, man.
I signed a deal with the Yankees, actually. I'm only halfway there. My hair's longer, though. It's over the collar, so I'd have to chop that off too.
We'll see what we could do about that. I'm sure we can find some scissors around here to get you up there to Yankee Town.
And my wife's good at cutting hair. I can get her to do it if I want to too, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet.
There you go. We got a great show lined up for you guys this afternoon. You are listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City and 101.9 the Forgotten Coast of Port St. Joe. Give us a call or text today throughout the show, 850-215-6290. We're going to be having our normal segment on 420, or coming up here at 420, the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Don't forget about our trivia segment today. We'll be giving you $25 to Rudy's Barbecue. We've also got some NFL, the urgency meter. I've had this planned for 3 days. We haven't made the time to get to it. So me and Caveman Rick will dive into that hour number 2, and then a very special segment today at 5:20. Normally we go around the track with RJ Starcevic Mondays at 4:20. Well, today at 5:20, he's actually up there in Chicago right now for the Chicago street race or street course, and that is going to be a lot of fun. So I don't think we're going to be hearing any engines roaring behind him because they don't start practice until tomorrow, but he is pretty amped up to be covering that race up there, so that should be a lot of fun. And we'll wrap it up with some local today at 5:40, getting you guys ready for your July 4th weekend, and make sure that you are extra careful if you're lighting off your fireworks and all of that stuff. Hopefully we can, escape the weekend with two hands.
Yeah, and that's if you're celebrating this weekend. With it being in the middle of the week, some people might be taking next weekend off, depending on.
Really?
Well, I'm just saying, I guess it depends on your situation.
Yeah, very true.
Some places where you work, not everybody can be off at the same time, right? So, when you have those holidays that are in the middle of the week like that, sometimes you have to just take the time off when you can.
Yeah, we're going to be off on Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to be up there in Sneads at Three Rivers State Park, getting my camping on. Not necessarily camping, I wouldn't call it that, because it's going to be in a camper, so there's going to be air conditioning involved and a lot of water, though. Hopefully I leave the weekend waterlogged, but we will be back Wednesday out there at Dave & Buster's, so that should be a lot of fun. The Coach James Hale Show is going to be off all week, so for the blast at Bay Point, then that brings us to 12:40 12:40 Wednesday is going to be our next show. So let's we don't know necessarily what the criteria is going to be, what number we're guessing, playing high, low, but just make sure at 12:40 you're caller number 10 to win not even a chance, to win a round for you and a guest at the beautiful Nicholas course there at Bay Point Golf Club. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I would think it probably depends on who the person is. Like somebody like Ryan, guessing his score, him, working at a golf course and having a background, obviously you would think his score is going to be a lot lower than somebody else.
Yeah. So maybe he was at 72. If we did my golf score, we'd be looking at triple digits.
Right.
So.
Or me, it might even be quadruple. Shoot, I mean, I have no golf game. I can
quadruple.
I can count on like 2 fingers how many times I've actually played real golf. So,
Well, Randy had mentioned something about 50 to 100, and that pretty much eliminated my golf score.
That's going to eliminate everybody. I mean, par, at most, what municipal courses are someplace in the 70s.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not going to have anybody hitting in the 50s. I mean, come on. Unless somebody is playing, like I mentioned last week, like a Vladimir Putin, that no matter what they do, they're going to excel.
You get a 1.
Because everybody's going to make sure that person's going to be, fantastic out there and look good so that, they probably don't get executed.
Yeah, Barrett.
Or end up in a gulag.
Barrett commenting on Facebook. Thanks so much for hanging out with us for a little bit here, Barrett. He says, let's not have anyone JPP it.
No
Jason
doubt.
Pierre, Paul. Yeah, so, go out there, have some fun with your friends, with your families, and more than anything, be safe. And if you see double red flags out there on the beach, stay out of the water. My advice, honestly, for those of you out there, and if there's double red flags and you really want to be on the beach, come over here to the town side, go to Beach Drive. You might find a parking spot and just go out that way. There's no flat, like you're not going to be dealing with the same rip currents and all that kind of stuff out there in the bay. Or another reason why Panama City is so beautiful, and I don't like giving this out, but go Google some of the springs around here. Right. Go hang out at the springs. It's going to be a little cold. It's not go to Morrison Springs out there, Ponce de Leon area, and man, that's such a beautiful place because it's like a beach, a beach area with a very large spring. So it's a great place for some family time, and hopefully everyone out there enjoys some time with their family celebrating our independence as a nation. So a lot of great things happening here on ESPN Northwest Florida, and then some not so good things, which is not necessarily ESPN Northwest Florida, but in the world of the NFL, we have found out about some more suspensions. Isaiah Rodgers and Rashad Berry, they play with the Colts, and then also free agent Demetrius Taylor, they are suspended indefinitely through at least the 2023 season for betting on NFL games last season. And so after that happened, the Colts just announced that Isaiah Rodgers and Rashad Berry have been waived as a consequence of their suspensions. And then, let's stick there with the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. And one of the anchors of the offensive line last year, an NPF, Nicholas Petit-Frere, was suspended for 6 games for betting on other sports while he was at the workplace. And that's one of the things that some of these younger players are saying that they didn't know about and all of that good stuff. And they're accepting, the consequences that are coming from all of this. But what do you got, Caveman?
You would think NPF wouldn't do that. And if you don't know out there, check out Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and you might be familiar with the line. But it's NPH referring to Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay.
NPH wouldn't do that.
Now I get it, because I'm like, well, I like that movie came out when I was young, so I definitely
came out in like my early mid-20s. So yeah.
Definitely watched that one a time or two. With Isaiah Rodgers, I had something saved earlier. Isaiah Rodgers won $1,000 bet on his own team last season. It was a prop bet on the over/under on rushing yards by a Colts running back. But the unusual part here, according to Dove Kleiman, is that the majority of his bets were in that $25 to $50 range, which is still a little bit rich for my poor blood. But this one was $1,000. So did he possibly know something ahead of time that he bet 1,000 instead of 25 to 50? Maybe so.
Insider trading type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to know what the game was, which running back it was. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. Was it an over? Was it an under?
It doesn't really matter in the long run, though.
It does,
what
though.
he did, was...
Oh, no. But what matters to me is for the integrity of the game. He's suspended for 2023. That is what it is. We already saw it happen with Calvin Ridley. If you think that the suspensions are going to get easier and lesser from here on out, I would say that you're sadly mistaken from that.
No
Not
doubt.
you,
Yeah,
just
no doubt.
in general. But my biggest thing here is that the integrity of the game. If it's a bet that, like, you know what I mean, like that. If it was a bet that only he would know, then yeah, there's something fishy about that. But if it's like a Jonathan Taylor going up against the Houston Texans or something like that, then it's like, all right, yeah, they were the worst rush defense in the league.
doubt.
Of course, I would jump up $700 or $950 to make that bet there. If I'm already betting and I'm already going down,
Well,
this
if you're already
alley,
taking the risk, why are you going to take the risk on like a $20 bet? It's like robbing a bank. Okay, if you're going to rob someplace for just, a few, thousands of dollars or maybe a couple $100,000, is that really going to carry you the rest of your life? Is that really worth it? I mean, if you're going to go and do something, or if I would anyways, it would have to be something very substantial to take that much of a risk. I mean, so he makes this bet of $1,000 and he wins, okay, and he hits on the bet. Look how much money he's losing for the whole season worth of paychecks.
That's a good
it's
point
not
as
worth
well.
that little bit of money. And
No, but when we're
you
doing
do certain
wrong
jobs
things,
like
though-
this, like if you're a cop, okay, you have to understand that you can't do like drugs and be involved with like illicit type stuff like that or anything crooked like that because of, what you're supposed to stand for, So, same thing. If you're in the NFL and you're playing sports like this and this is, a rule that's inherent to the game, you just have to understand that if you want to play the game and be part of this group, you can't do maybe a couple certain things until you retire. And then when you can retire, do what the hell you want.
That's very fair and not trying to stick up for him or anything. But when you start, even if you're doing something wrong or whatever, and you're kind of entrenched there, you're going to keep doing it. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily.
Let's flip it this way. It's black and white. There's no gray out there. And I'm throwing that out there because I mentioned something to some family about that recently that's listening. So thanks you guys for listening too, by the way.
Absolutely. Also, more suspensions handed down by the NFL. The Jaguars have suspended their left tackle and Cam Robinson for 4 games, violating the PED.
What's up with the AFC South? What's up with all these crooked players down there, Dave? What's
Right,
going on, man?
we just need someone from the
it's
Texans.
actually the South too, because then you got Ridley, with the Falcons,
Calvin
and he
Ridley,
got busted, so it's like all Southern type, below the Mason-Dixon line kind of stuff going on.
Well, then up there in Detroit as well.
Well, that's true. But the
they got hit
majority,
pretty
though,
good.
I'm talking about the majority of the players.
Oh man, you're
Up
coming after the
north of
Southerners in the South.
Whoa. The Southerners are in trouble for the gambling. The Northerners above the Mason-Dixon line, like those in places like, let's say, Boston, they do other kinds of things that they're not supposed to do, like deflate footballs or tape other teams' walkthroughs.
There you go. Oh man, we had a little fun yesterday on the inside drive. One of the guys in the building was a Patriots fan.
Yeah, I heard that.
That was a fun conversation.
And he was talking about like when people start talking trash, he starts to count to the number 6.
Yeah.
Okay, count to the number 6, but none of them are legit, man. They're all got cheating behind them. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're legit.
I don't think so. I think
That's
anytime
fair.
you have cheating attached to it, it takes something away. The same thing like with the Astros.
They still got theirs.
Well, I understand they're not taking it away. In the league, they're doing that just to save face. That's really the reason why they're not like stripping them of their championship. Because like, look at the Olympics. You can get stripped of a medal 15 years after you get one awarded if they find out something happened.
Yeah, that's a good point. But at the end of the day, that's not the way that it went. And I think as a fan, you can choose to recognize the 2017 World Series as the Houston Astros, or you could say it's the
same as people
Dodgers,
recognizing Barry Bonds' home run record or not.
Right. I mean, I think he still had to hit the balls. So, I guess I'm just one of those people, like, it is what it is.
But without the steroids, would he been able to play as many games? And was he able to hit as many home runs?
I think that's the best point that anyone can bring up is the amount of games that he played. Would he be able to play at the percent level he was playing at? Not necessarily the strength and everything, but the bounce back time and all of that, those good things. I could find that to be a great factor, but at the end of the day, he did it. He used his hand-eye coordination to hit the balls over the wall. So in my Yeah, for me, it's Barry Bonds, and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Like, those are guys that had a very big part to play in the game of baseball bouncing back. So regardless if they did it necessarily the right way or the wrong way, the truth of the matter is that it's not like the guys who got caught up in all of this stuff were the only guys using.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, yeah.
That's where my biggest issue is like, this wasn't even against the rules when they were doing it, and now we're bamming then they're bamming those guys when it wasn't necessarily illegal.
Well, again, it's public opinion.
Yeah.
And that's where it's coming from, and sports writers and people are going to have issues with stuff, and I'm one of those people that sports is the one thing that you can use in this world, this crazy world that we live in, to get away from maybe the problems that you have in your life for a few hours.
The distractions.
Watch something, be a part of something that's bigger than maybe yourself, that, can kind of take away stuff in your mind or whatever, lose yourself and enjoy something that you can get behind with maybe a group of people. And in some cases, some of those people that, if it wasn't for you having the same interest in that sports franchise or whatever, you might not
get along.
Never even talk to them.
Yeah.
Never, if you walk past them in the street, wouldn't give two cares about them. But you might end up having a kinship or a friendship with somebody you might not necessarily have just because of something like that.
And what better way to entrench yourself inside of that friendship other than cheating?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's just the way to go.
That's the way you do it.
I'm sorry, David. They're all a bunch of cheaters.
I mean, that's
steroids were banned in baseball in 1991, but they did not test for it until 2003.
Okay, so they were banned in 91.
So, I mean, that's just saying, like, you're not supposed to speed, but they're not going to give you a ticket if you're speeding. I mean, if there's no consequence, then nobody's going to stop you, basically, I would think, or you're not going to stop yourself, basically.
Why
if you knew you could walk into a bank and you can walk into the vault and you could take all the cash out if you wanted to without getting caught, how many people are actually going to say, no, that's not right, and not actually do it? Most people are going to say, hell yeah, party time.
Party on with they were using the greenies, all of that good stuff as well, so I get it, and I'm 100% fine with anyone saying,
you go as far as
Barry Bonds look, if the writers decide, or whoever it is that decides the record books, that Barry Bonds is no longer the home run king, then it is what it is. And I'm going to say, oh, well, who are they going to put next there? It's going to be Babe Ruth, or it's going to be, Hank Aaron. It's going to be Hank and then the Babe. So, I'm more than fine with saying Hank Aaron's the home run king. I think everyone would be. But until that's changed, I'm more of playing what ifs are fun and all of that good stuff. But it is what it is one of the things I like to live my life by.
I mean, getting LASIK surgery or wearing bifocals could help you with your hand-eye coordination. So is that performance enhancing?
Yes, it is.
Because your eyesight's getting weaker, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is. You're getting older.
So you can take this as far as you want, really, though.
You kind of could. You kind of could, man. And deflating footballs is the same way. If your grip's getting a little bit weaker, then you need to let a little air out of the ball. If your defense isn't playing well, you don't get on the practice field and work your tail off. You go to the other team and you tape their practice.
Exactly right.
There you go. And this is why I'm not coaching youth sports right now. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida. Just about 3 minutes till we get into the real fishing report. James Harden, working with the 76ers now, apparently was going to opt out. Now is opting
money
into the contract. He's going to be he's owed 36.5 or 35.6. 35.6 is what the number is. But he's going to be working with the 76ers to find a trade partner. What do you want to see come for the Philadelphia 76ers? From the 76ers side of things, what do you want to see happen here?
If you're going to move them, you want the best deal possible. I don't think there's any kind of rush. Maybe let the free agency window kind of take its course, see where some people land, how some teams end up, and then see where they're sitting, see what kind of pieces they might need to finish their plan to see if they can get over the hump. I even heard, maybe waiting on possibly doing a package to try to get Dame to maybe, come that way instead of Miami.
Whoa.
I don't know about that. It depends on, obviously.
That could be an interesting little combination there between Joel Embiid and Dame Lillard.
But it depends on what they're going to have to give up to get him. I've heard, some people commenting that if they were to do something like that, it'd probably be more of a 3 or a 4 team kind of a deal and not just straight up between the Sixers and the Trailblazers alone.
Yeah.
Which sounds a lot more likely, especially in the NBA. They tend to do stuff like that a lot more, with players dumping salaries and, things of that nature. But like I said, I think it's really just going to come down to, Daryl Morey, he's got a relationship with James Harden. We know this. I don't think he's going to do him wrong by sending him someplace that he's not going to want to go to and not feel he's going to flourish.
Like
so I
back
think
to Houston or anything.
He's going to want to get like a really good deal and get good pieces, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to maybe hurt or ruin his relationship with James Harden to better the Sixers all the way.
Okay.
That's my fear, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because it already seems like they've kind of worked together. They've kind of worked together to make it best.
That's
both
his guy.
sides.
That's his guy. Like if you followed what James Harden was doing, like when he was in Houston and stuff like that.
This whole situation happened last year as well.
They would have to wait like on the bus for him to show up before they can go to the airport because he would show up late and things of that nature. And when you're just that kind of guy that expects like all this special treatment, especially when you really haven't won. It'd be one thing if you're like like LeBron James or somebody else out there, that's got the kind of accolades, you maybe get away with it a little bit more. Somebody like himself, I think he got to prove it still.
Yeah.
So if Embiid wants to stay, I think you got to really like hurry up and do something though, because if you have another bad season and you move Harden after another year, Embiid might just say, "Hey, get me the hell out of here."
Yeah, and he's going to need to do that for his legacy if things keep on going down the road that they're going down with the Philadelphia 76ers and these kind of tumultuous off seasons. But Tyrese Maxey is set to be the guy there along with Joel Embiid.
These people that you've been developing for a long time, we took a lot of people in and made some bad picks and moved them on. Guys like Markelle Fultz, Nerlens Noel, Ben Simmons, just to name a few of them, and not gotten really anything back in return, no kind of value.
Yeah, that's great stuff, and that's going to do it here for our first segment. So MLB, they outlawed steroids in 1991. The NFL was about 8 years ahead of them in 1983 via great research from our guy, Bone Crusher. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Up next, The Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Blasted Bay Point.
Hey, Drew, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
What do you got, Drew?
All right, I'm going to guess 72.
David, what do we got?
That is correct.
There you go, Drew. Congratulations.
Way to go, Drew.
You've obviously been listening to some of the other shows and seen what was high and low, and you've won yourself a round of golf for two players at the beautiful Bay Point Golf Club out here in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Thanks.
Keep listening to Win on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Friday. Sunshine the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze coming out of the west-southwest at 11 miles per hour, and look for it to be 91. Tonight, there will be mostly clear skies with the temperature reaching 80. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a wind around 8 miles per hour and a high of 90. Sunday will have a high of 90 and some sun. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
The battle for a sixth straight division crown is on, and the Braves are on a charge to bring it home to Atlanta.
3-1. That is jolted. Deep right center field and kiss that goodbye. 1-0 Braves on the homer by Olsen.
Tonight, division rivals clash at Truist Park in Atlanta as the Atlanta Braves take on Jorge Soler and the Miami Marlins.
Coverage starts tonight at 6, right after the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Real Fishing Report. It's expert insider information from Tim at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. What's biting, what bait to use, where to cast. And now, The Real Fishing Report. On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and one of our best segments of the week is this one right here, the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock and Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. And Tim, it's like you brought the fish to us today, man. What's going on, brother?
I'm sure it smells right now. Those that are on camera can probably see my sunglasses out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So we literally just got off the boat about 15 minutes ago down here at Treasure Island. And
so you was just right down the road then?
Yeah, I was right down. I was sitting there watching the clock on the way back in. Going,
we were wondering, man, is he going to make it today?
I don't know if I'm going to make this in time or not. But it was a fantastic day of fishing. We'll talk about some of that here in just a minute. But there's a lot of great things happening in the fishing world locally this weekend.
Yeah.
And obviously one of the biggest is going to be Bay Point and the Billfish tournament.
Yeah.
Got quite a few friends that are fishing in that. Hearing some good reports, some weigh-ins that may happen this evening. So if you're here locally in Panama City Beach, make sure you take the time, drive out there. It's a great environment to be in and around.
Do you know if they're televising that, like they were talking about maybe doing it, or like simulcasting it or anything by any chance?
I think there's a Facebook feed and an Instagram feed.
Okay.
Both as far as social goes, but to my knowledge, there is not an actual broadcast feed.
Okay.
So ECBC, which was last week, had CBS Sports did the full feed.
Okay.
You know, actually out at the tournament site, but I think Bay Point is doing their own social media feed.
Yeah, so they've got one here, Bay Point Billfish Open, but it says it doesn't start for about another hour. So,
well, there you go. So the live weigh-ins actually start at 4 today.
Okay.
So they may start the feed here at another hour. Would be what, 5:30?
5:30 or so. Yeah.
Right on.
Did y'all happen to go to the opening?
No, I had Dave and Buster's that night, so I didn't even get back this way till 7:30. So, which I heard was still there was still plenty of time.
Yeah, there was still plenty of time. I mean, we partied all night.
Yeah.
You know, I guess Andy Griggs quit singing sometime around 11 o'clock.
Yeah, well, they got like ordinances, I think, for that.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite parts is the infamous rumor that Luke Bryan was going to be there performing, and I mean that thing started spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, it did.
And obviously he was not there, nor was he on the headline, but we had a great time hearing Riley Green.
Yep.
And it was great to hear him in person. And then obviously Andy Griggs was there played kind of the headline that night, did a fantastic job. And just a great environment to be around. There'll be more concerts happening. Tonight's at 7:30. Tomorrow's at 8. And again, it's a great place to be able to go out. Hunt's has a tent set up, and there's obviously food there you can buy. There's chicken oysters. There's cold beverages of any type and variety that you can get there. So it's worth going out to if you've never been. And it's a great family place where you can go around and just watch those big boats as they come. And Wednesday night, really, especially, is a lot of fun because all those, the boat crews, the fishing teams, the captains, everybody's just kind of sitting around chilling on the back of the boats.
Everyone's still happy.
Yeah, it's the calm before the storm.
Yep.
And we were commenting on it as you look. I kind of stepped away and was talking to one of my friends at, all the docks where all the boats were in. And you just kind of looked out over everybody sitting there, and it's like, you know what? They look like they're ready to go fishing.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, enough of this for now. Like, let's go fishing. But if you got time, I would definitely make an effort to go out there, support that event. It's a great local event. Obviously, the more local support that the event has, the more fun it's going to be.
I'm sure there's captains and hands and all that, like you were talking about wanting to go out there. It's like, an athlete sitting in the locker room before a game. You're getting anxious, just want to go out there and play, instead of just sitting there.
Oh, absolutely.
Time to go out and fish.
No doubt.
That's how it is.
What does the tournament team look like? If we have time to talk about that, you got your captain, you deckhands. Like, how many people normally on a boat?
There's usually a captain, obviously, and a hand. Mm-hmm. There's usually 3 to 4 guys who there's one guy that either outright owns the boat or there's a partnership in the boat.
So you got the one guy that's actually going to reel.
Exactly.
So the owner reels.
So part of it. Yeah, they can.
Okay. They can, but not always. Sometimes there's like a guy that's like a really good angler. A lot of times there's an angler on there, particularly if they're heavy into tournament fishing. Yeah.
Who they'll put on the reel, especially if they know it's a big fish.
Right.
I've got a good friend out of Destin, Wade Cotton. His son Parker Cotton caught the winning wahoo out at Emerald Coast Billfish last week.
Nice.
It was a 79-pound, just over 79-pound wahoo. And that fish won $169,000.
Nice payday. I wonder what the entry fee was.
If I'm not mistaken, Parker is somewhere around 17. So that was a heck of a payday.
Yes, sir.
And so congratulations to Parker Cotton for catching that. It was a tournament winner.
That's a salary, a yearly salary times like, I don't know.
But you got to think of the kind of money that you got to dump into that boat and gas and all that gear to go out there just to catch.
Let me just celebrate the young man for 100.
Yeah,
no, I hear you. I hear you. There's a lot of money involved.
Winning
in that
$169,000 on a fish is $169,000.
I don't care if you spent $20 million to put that boat together. You still won $169,000.
That's exactly right. Obviously, when you get into the sport fishing side, there's some center consoles that are in the tournament as well. So, people look at it and think, oh, they've got to have these multi-million-dollar yachts. Well, there's some center consoles which are pressing upwards of $1 million that are out there fishing the same things.
Hey, it's all up to the angler, man. A lot of times.
It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds over the next 2 days here locally. And we're looking forward to great weigh-in results. Let's also talk, obviously, the Billfish tournament is probably the highlight for the weekend. But we have much improved weather.
Yes.
That's the big deal.
Except for the heat,
I'm glad the tournament guys are out there fishing. They're having a great time. It'll be a great event, right? But what about, Tim Braddock, who went out today with, 6 other people?
Yeah.
And we had great weather out there on the Gulf all day today.
Seas pretty calm?
Seas were beautiful. They were less than 1 foot as forecasted.
Not to mention, there's going to be a lot of people out there this weekend, so be careful out there, too.
Well, that was, you segued just like you looked at my notes. But that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Kind of clairvoyant, Dave.
Yeah, this beautiful weather. You had the ESPN.
Yeah, there you go.
And a little pun for those listening. But we were going to talk about this weather. With this weather, it just brings increased tourism, which is a great thing. I've been down here 18 years. You'll never hear me gripe or complain. Well, I may complain in my car every once in a while, but for the most part, you won't hear me complaining about people coming in town. I love it. And I have a bait shop
people's money
that thrives off people coming in to fish. They want to know where to fish.
Right.
They don't live. I do the same thing. Right, so if I go to an area, if I go to Blue Ridge, Georgia, if I go to McKaysville, I'm going to go into a local bait shop. I'm getting married in Portugal our wedding's in Portugal, July 18th. And one of the things I'm going to do over there is fish. I've already found out there's 2 local bait shops in Lisbon.
Yeah.
And special ordered one of those travel TFO tactical rods. I've got a 3,000 size spool so that I can be able to fish whenever I'm there off the surf,
Yeah.
And so that's what I do, right? And a lot of people do the same thing. When they go into a local area, they say, hey, they go to the bait shop, and they want to know what the local information is. So one of the things we have diligently tried to do at Bay Breeze is preach a consistent message, if you would, for the fishing industry, particularly locally where we're at. And there are when you get into the fishing world, there's 100 different ways to tie rigs or to tie knots or ways to fish, but everybody has the same ultimate goal, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were to go in my shop today and you say, hey, I want to go fish, what's your purpose? It's to go catch a fish. And so what we do is try to make everything simple where they can understand it, and then they can duplicate that out in the field, and then from there expand on your technique on how you're fishing. But we are expecting, as K-Man Ray pointed out, a lot of people to be out there this weekend. So make sure, particularly if you're on the water and on a boat, that you're kind of looking around, making sure everything's going well, that you're obeying the boat traffic. And so it's important this weekend not only to be able to get out and go catch fish, but it's important to be mindful of those neighbors that are there with you as well.
Right.
So let's look as far as the actual weekend goes. You can pick really any area, any avenue. We've kind of let surf fishing fall by the wayside. A lot of that's been because there's been a lot of June grass.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see that break up. This week's the first week where we're starting to see some nice pockets of clear water to be able to fish in. We're getting great catch results coming into the shop. And we've had a couple nice redfish caught later evenings off of either chunk, bonita, or cut mullet. We also have seen an increased number in mahi being caught. And so that's great. This week, for those that may listen and pier fish is either all great or all bad.
There's
usually no in between.
He's pretty right about that.
Yeah, there's usually no in between with pier fishing. It's usually most of the time when you pier fish, you don't get done. You think, oh, that was a moderate day fishing.
Yeah.
It's either
it's on fire,
all skunk, or all glory.
So with that method, then, like if you spend like an hour out there and it's you're not catching anything, should you just leave or you just keep going?
Yeah, patience is key in pier fishing because when I say it's all or nothing, it's either all on or all of a sudden it's not on.
Yeah, and you can go out there for an hour and not catch nothing, but then 10 minutes after that hour,
it could be
something be running through schools of Spanish mackerel or whatever, and it could be on fire for 20 minutes, and then nothing again for another 5-6 hours.
Well, I think we should point out there's a couple factors to look at, right, when you go to do that. Number one is look at the tide. What is the tide doing? Is it incoming? Is it outgoing? A lot of that will determine.
Better be rolling this fall.
Yeah, roll tide, roll. But a lot of that will determine essentially what part of the pier you're going to fish.
Okay.
Shallow, deep.
Yeah, exactly. Is it incoming tide or is it outgoing tide? Am I fishing the backside of the front sandbar or am I fishing the front side of the back sandbar? And again, a lot of that has to do with your tidal changes, and then wind plays a factor into that as well.
And also what you're targeting.
Because wind's going to surface drive the water, right?
Yeah.
And so some of these fish want cooler water. They'll come into the shallows when the water is cooler. And so at that point, we see increased number in kings. Again, this week, we had a great report of over a 2-day period of mahi being caught out at the pier. And
so that's good for something that usually is out a little deeper to be that close.
Yeah, and
it's cool.
We see that happen, particularly at the pier.
These just
both
chicken?
of our local piers, most of them were
chicken size.
Yeah, we call them chick dolphin.
Yeah,
chick dolphin,
and
not the big bulls.
Most of them were on the smaller side, but they still eat fantastic.
That's what you'd probably rather get, though, instead of getting a big bull mahi. You get the smaller ones.
So Piers picking up, Piers had a decent week. We're seeing the surf starting to pick up finally as far as fishing goes. Offshore is in full swing. That's how we kind of summarize that up. If somebody comes in the shop and says, "Hey, how's fishing?" Well, what kind? Well, I'm gonna take my boat and go offshore. Well, it's in full swing right now.
Yeah.
What that means is the longer answer to that is, man, we're catching a little bit of everything. As we stated, I just got off the boat about 30 minutes ago. We were catching pretty much everything under the sun. And probably my highlight of the day, I caught the biggest snapper I've ever caught. And it was a big sow snapper. I mean, she was beautiful. And but I was sitting on the back of the boat, and we were bottom fishing, and I noticed what looked like a cobia swimming around off the back of the boat. We talked about this on the report before. Mm-hmm. Make sure when you're out there, throw a flat line out, right? Because you never know what's popping around. And we'd already seen a couple big remoras we caught. I got shark personally twice today. Just everything but the heads bit off of this snapper.
Wow.
And so
the tax man
definitely came and got his dues today. But so we had been on this spot, and we'd already seen a couple more coming up and eating some bait that had fallen off and things like that. And it wasn't 2 or 3 minutes after I saw that remora swimming around the back of the boat that had a live pinfish that I was just slow cranking back up toward the surface. And that cobia smoked that live pinfish, and it was on. And so when it was said and done, we ended up with a 41-inch cobia that we were able to put on the boat or in the ice backs. And so it was a great catch.
Did you get any of those snappers to come up towards the surface like we talked about last week after you was sitting there for a while, after you got in the bottom chummed up and getting it going?
Yeah, so not today. They were sitting higher in the water column. They were at about we were sitting at about 100 feet. Bottom was about 170 to 180 feet. So they were kind of up, they were in the middle of the column at that point, right? But they weren't all the way at the top like what we were talking about before. A lot of times when that happens, and we were bouncing from spot to spot today as opposed to staying on one spot for maybe, 30 minutes to an hour, right?
That's usually what it takes.
Yeah, if you are there at that spot for any amount of time, or you're in shallow water.
Yeah.
So those shallow water snappers, 60 to 100 feet, a lot of times we'll see those guys start coming up toward the top. So
it's so wild. You said 170 to 190 feet or whatever. Like, I'm just thinking, golly, that is so vast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not even a very deep.
No, that's nothing. That's nothing in comparison.
Yeah. About the deepest I've hand cranked has been about 300. We were, I think, about 360 to 3.
How long was that?
Well, when you go to Portugal over there, you'll probably find some places that you're going to be like in some real deep water.
Real quick. So the Azores,
real quick, I mean, you're literally on top of a mountain. So
we're going to talk about it when we come
thousands
back,
of feet. Yeah,
that's what happens. The Azores, it drops off thousands of feet quick. You're marlin fishing within 45 minutes.
The tallest mountain, Mount Pico, they have on the island of Pico, I think if you measure it from the bottom of the ocean floor to the top of the mountain that's out of the water, it's only like 1,000 or a couple thousand feet shorter than Everest.
Wow.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
That is insane. Well, you want to hit us with a summary of the Real Fishing Report, Tim?
Yeah, we'll summarize this the fishing report up for the weekend. This week has ushered in a great weekend forecast for the fishing community. The seas are set to be calm for at least the next 3 days, which will allow the recreational and charter fleet to get some solid fishing in. The highlight for the weekend is the Bay Point Billfish Open happening in Panama City Beach. Weigh-ins are 4 to 9 every night, with concerts happening every evening. This is a great event for the whole family to attend and spend some time checking out the excitement of big tournament sport fishing. Whether you fish inshore, offshore, or from shore, be sure to come by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle for the best bait locally sourced here in Panama City. The Real Local Fishing Report brought to you by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, live on Fridays at 4:15.
That is great stuff as always, Tim. Can't wait to have you back next Thursday. Really, next Friday. Can't wait till the day or whenever you return back from Portugal. I cannot wait for some of those stories.
That'll be August, the first week of August.
First week of August. So, man, we got what? We're going to have 3 Real Fish Reports
3.
Without you?
You got 3. No, you only have 2.
Oh.
You only have 2.
2's better than 3.
2's better than 3.
No doubt.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much, and you have a great rest of your weekend. Y'all get out there to Bay Point. Check out the Billfish Tournament going on now. Weigh-in starting soon. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're taking the inside drive.
And the reason I asked about that is because you were talking about, like the non-power fives, the Coastals, the App States, the Marshalls, the JMUs that's now up there, them playing in like a playoff. If we move to this super conference where, say there's 50 teams.
Yeah.
Now, is there going to be another opportunity?
Join Ryan Mulvey.
Thank you very little.
Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Friday. Sunshine the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze coming out of the west-southwest at 11 miles per hour and look for it to be 91. Tonight, there will be mostly clear skies with the temperature reaching 80. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a wind around 8 miles per hour and a high of 90. Sunday will have a high of 90 and some sun. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they now serve delicious food? Check out the break room's daily lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, air-fried chicken, and more. Plus the best burgers, hot dogs, and you gotta try the Sammy of the day. The break room on Panama City Beach at the corner of Joan Avenue and North Lagoon. For more information, check them out on Facebook.
Chef Ross here. We're open daily at 11 at the break room.
In your face.
Questionable calls all over the NFL this year.
On the field.
Quantify, to put a value on momentum, you can't do that.
And in your radio.
Hashtag NFL rigged.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. Every time I say don't go anywhere, I feel like we don't really go anywhere. It's like 2 minutes in, we're back in a flash. Time to play a little traffic jam and trivia here, but that was the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock, Bay Breeze, Bait and Tackle.
Always great stuff with Tim.
He always keeps it real, man.
I'm so glad it's on Fridays now because before it was on Wednesdays,
It was on Thursdays.
Or Thursdays.
Yeah.
And obviously, me and AG weren't here, but man, now that he's here on Fridays, I love it.
That's, I try to strategically as I can, pick the spots and put them on the day because, it's a, every day is a different cast.
Yeah, no doubt.
Every day is a different cast. So you can give us a call or text 850-215-6290. Eric with an A. He earlier said, I'm just now checking this, but he said, just want to say he went offshore last Saturday about 20 miles. They caught their limit in red snapper, 8 of those, 8 total. One of them was 26 inches and also caught a couple of mahi and bonita.
Awesome.
So great stuff. Eric, thanks so much there for the text. We also had a few yesterday that we did not get in. Professor Plum, we were talking about who would you want to narrate your life. And I gave you 2 options, but you could go with anyone that you wanted to. The options were Morgan Freeman or David Attenborough. Well, he says James Earl Jones as the narrator.
Yeah, Darth Vader. Can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that. I mentioned David Attenborough as the 2 that you had, but there's a couple of other ones. Mike Rowe, another one that comes to mind if you're familiar. He does some narrating on some other shows. He did that Dirty Jobs, but there's also like on Science Channel or Discovery, one of those channels, he does like some like space narration of like shows, like if you want to learn about like Saturn or like anything like that. So
there you go, man. Go check it out. The trivia question for today, the Yankees set a record for the most runs scored in a perfect game. Whose mark did they break? We were talking about this yesterday to open up the show. The Yankees set a record for most runs scored in a perfect game. Whose mark did they break? For your chance to win $25 to Rudy's Barbecue or a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock here in this edition of Traffic Jammin' Trivia. And we'll get into the Braves update. The Braves are going to be taking on the Marlins. Don't forget to call in 850-215-6290. Let's win you some Rudy's Barbecue. The Braves update brought to you by The Break Room. Today's special is chicken quesadillas. Tomorrow and Sunday, we're going to have wings for just $1. All specials are $12, and you get your drink, your side, and your dessert along with that as well. Monday special, spaghetti and meatballs. Tuesday is meatloaf. Last Tuesday, they did shepherd's pie. Wednesday's chicken pot pie, and then Thursday you got hamburger steaks. Y'all get up there today, though. Get yourself a chicken quesadilla. Braves update. Matt Olson's 26 home runs this year are the most by a Braves player before July since the Big Cat, Andres Galarraga. He had 27 in 1998. What a special season that was for Andres Galarraga. The homer marked the Braves' 55th home run in the month of June, which is one shy of their most home runs in a single month in franchise history. I would love to be able to tell you. They're breaking that record tonight. The Braves are going to hit at least 2 home runs tonight going up against the Marlins. And I might have. And if I did, all the blame can go on me as long as the Atlanta Braves get the W tonight. If they take 2 or 3 from the Marlins, I'll be very happy. But you know how it is, man. The Marlins are definitely a feisty team this year, and they've got Luis Arraez, who's hitting close to 400. If not, he's right there at 400.
Well, they got to get it tonight. If they don't, that's it.
Yeah.
Month's over.
The month is over. That is the final day in June. But right now, they're sitting at, I want to say it's either 141 or in between 141 to 146. And the leader of all time for a single season in home runs at the major league level is the Twins in 2019 with 307.
Wow.
So they're on a really good pace right now. And with this stolen bases and everything, Ronald Acuna Jr. he's close to 40 stolen bases. So he's close to 20 home runs, so it'll be nice to see him get into that 40-40 club, or maybe a little bit higher than that if possible. He's on pace right now for 38 home runs and 72 stolen bases, which is, I don't care if Ronald Acuna does this. It's great and all, but that stolen base side is going to be with an asterisk. He did almost accomplish this the last year that he was fully healthy for the full year, but didn't get it done. But, man, all these stolen bases that we're getting to this point, you do have to, there are some things that are aiding them. Let's get over to the phone line. We've got Coach Olds. Coach Olds, what's going on?
Not much. This is a beautiful day at Shipwreck. I'm watching you guys on Facebook. Try to give you guys a call.
Oh, you're at Shipwreck right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, if I was doing that, I would just be... I would love to do the show, Coach Olds, just from the Lazy River. All day long, man. That is my jam there. Yeah, I mean, also, there's so many great rides, and that place just has so many memories for me as a kid, which you're making memories there with your family as well, and working. So that's... And y'all been doing that for how long now?
This is my 4th year, my daughter's 4th year.
Wow, that is great stuff. Are y'all still looking for lifeguards out there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so get a hold of Coach Olds if you'd like to get your youngin involved in lifeguarding out there at Shipwreck. All right, Coach Olds, the Yankees set a record for the most runs scored in a perfect game. Whose mark did they break?
I wanted the Giants with 10, maybe, and in 2012?
Yes, sir, they did. They scored 10 times. It was Matt Cain's perfect game, June 13th, 2012. So almost 11 years, or actually just past 11 years there. So, Coach Olds, thanks so much for the call. And just hang on the line real quick. Bone Crusher's going to grab a little bit more info from you, and I can't wait to see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. That is Coach Olds, ladies and gentlemen, which is really cool, though. I mean, I don't know how many of his children, were involved in the lifeguarding and stuff, but, that's really, really
good
cool.
Good dude, good family, raising some good kids, And then I was like, being a lifeguard, saving people, or trying to save people, I guess, over there. Because I'm sure, the tourists are going to have to help some people sooner or later.
Well, and then you got the wave pool, which
and they also serve adult beverages there.
Yeah. And they got some cool slides too, man. There's some really entertaining rides there at Shipwreck Island Water Park. Orlando Arcia is going to be joining Ronnie and Sean Murphy. It's going to be the first time that the Braves have had 3 players in the starting lineup since 1998, when you had Greg Maddux, Walt Weiss, and Chipper Jones starting for the NL team. The NL's pitching staff and the reserves, along with the American League, is going to be announced Sunday at 4:30. Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Albies, Spencer Strider, and Bryce Elder are the top candidates to add more Braves to that roster. You got Olsen, Albies, Riley, and Harris, who all advanced to Phase 2 out of Phase 1 to basically where you go up against another player, another top vote getter for your position, but they fell short there. Orlando Arcia, which might be one of the most impressive situations here as far as shortstop goes. Who would have thought at the beginning of the year that Orlando Arcia was going to be getting 69% of the votes, and he was going up against a big name here, Francisco Lindor, and so Arcia is going to be starting for the National League at shortstop.
Team success has a lot to do with that, I'm sure.
I think it has even more to and on top of team success, team brand with the Atlanta Braves. Like me,
yeah, but like it's the Mets. They're in New York. If they're doing well, a lot of people are going to be behind, probably more involved. They might tend to vote more, and then you may have more Mets make it because of the bigger population. Due to the fact that Atlanta's playing really well, they have a recent championship. A lot of people that are Braves fans aren't ashamed to be a Braves fan, so they might participate more. Hence, you have more votes for.
Yeah, no, I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. Yeah. I'm just saying, I think that the brand that TBS helped, like even the Cubs, but and then with outside
Cubs
of the brand, the brand, the revival since the World Series that the Braves have become, 21% is what their season tickets are going to be going up here for 2024.
Yeah, then we'll see how things go after that, and how many people are. You
have to stay playing at a top level to charge at a top level.
Well, I mean, even then too, just because you're a franchise and you're giving out these deals, what's to say that every year, every handful of years, you have to jack them up that much? You know what I'm saying?
There's nothing that says that outside of it. I guess if you can do it, do it. So we'll find out how it goes. I mean, I'm not ecstatic about that because that means it's less Braves games that I can attend.
But then again, there's so many people that buy them and then put them on the secondary market, and then they're even higher than what they were originally, and that's part of the problem too. That's
one of the issues that the Braves and other organizations are having is that they already have a limit on how many games you need to be attending as a season ticket holder, and a lot of the times these guys are only going to 20-30% of the games and selling off the rest of the tickets, which, at the end of the day, we are a capitalist country, so I don't think that should be wrong, but if it's written there, it's like betting in the NFL. If they say you can't do it, so even as a season ticket holder, if they say you can't do it or you've got to use those tickets X amount of times throughout the season, then that's just what you got to do or else you're going to lose your season tickets, which how long do you have to wait to get season tickets? And obviously that's different.
Well, not to mention some places you got to have like a PSL on top of having those season tickets.
Yeah.
And that's just an extra way for them to generate revenue, too, to make you have to fill out paperwork, jump through some hoops, some more red tape, and then now you can get your tickets.
Yeah, Orlando Arcia is going to be the first Brave to start at short in the All-Star game since Edgar Renteria did it back in 2006. When I was reading this earlier, I was like, man, I had forgot about Edgar Renteria being with the Atlanta Braves. So, yeah, that was interesting there, along with Walt Weiss, who started that position in 1998, and he's been on the bench as a coach for the Braves since 2017. Mike Soroka coming back tonight for the Braves. He's getting the start going up against Brian Hoeing, who's standing tall at 6'6". So it should be interesting, but it's only his fourth start of the year tonight, and he's got an ERA of 2.31 with a record of 1-1. Soroka's 0-1 with an ERA of 8.38, and I believe he only had one start before they optioned him back down to Gwinnett, but that is what it is. And the Marlins are hot right now. They just swept the Red Sox, and they're now 14 games over 500 for the first time since 2003, which that's the last year when they won that's the year that they won the World Series back there in 2003. So interesting stuff there. Can't wait for the Marlins and the Braves tonight right here on ESPN Northwest Florida at 6 o'clock. Coverage starts, and then we'll get to the coverage or the first pitch at 6:20. And speaking of hot teams, your Phillies 18 of 23, 9 straight road games, and they're only 1.5 games back of the Dodgers and the Giants for a playoff spot. And we're going to find out more what Caveman Rick thinks about his Phillies when we return. A little home run derby talk as well. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida. Hour 2's up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Here comes the thunder. Scherzer.
Listen to live play-by-play of America's team right here. First, it's the Braves at Truist versus the Marlins tonight. Coverage starts at 6. Then, Game 2 tomorrow. First pitch at 3:10. Sunday's game time, 12:35. Listen live on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Friday. For tonight, a chance of thunderstorms and mostly clear skies and a low of 80 with a calm wind around 3 miles per hour coming out of the west-southwest. Tomorrow morning, mostly sunshine with temps around 90. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 90. Moving into Sunday, the same with a high of 90 and some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
The road is yours this summer in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by and check out the Bill Bird Kia SUV family that is built for all-in adventures and endless possibilities. Whether you're traveling on the highways or off-road, you'll do it with grace and grit. Now offering 3.25% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort and safety and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind that you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $22.22 per month per 1,000 finance at 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7/5/23.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are sponsored locally by Bill Bird Kia, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Store More Portable Buildings, and Brock Pest Control. Had some good old dandy donuts this afternoon from, I don't even know who left them here, but I love some blueberry donuts, and I just had a little regurgitated taste of it.
Yeah, the blueberry cake donuts are actually pretty good. I like those.
Bone Crusher's back there.
That's not bad manners. That's good donuts.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that is. But yeah, your Atlanta Braves tonight. First pitch, 6:20. Hopefully a good outing tonight from Mike Soroka. All right, your Phillies, though, they've been on fire, and they had a decent series. No, it wasn't a great series for the Phillies. It was a good series for the Braves. But
on fire is like a relative term, I guess. We've won some games, okay?
9 straight road games. Okay,
Yeah.
You've been on fire on the road. Is that fair
we've
to
been
say?
winning games, but it's not like, we've been destroying teams. It's not like we're going out there every game with a lot of consistency. We're doing okay right now as far as the wild card goes. 1.5 games out. We are 10 games behind the Braves still. So as of right now, unless things really, take a drastic type of a change, we're playing for that wild card spot again like we did last year, more than likely, to get into the playoffs. I would like us to go into the playoffs a lot stronger than we did last year, because last year where we went in, they played well, but it took a lot of other things going our way too for us to get where we got to in the World Series.
Right.
I don't want that to happen again, obviously, So, we're still struggling, with the bats, which you would think with the lineup that we have, we shouldn't be having those kinds of issues. Schwarber's still not, he's still below 200. It seems like he's either striking out or he's hitting 400 plus feet, at bats. Bryce Harper's back. He's still not like in, his truest form, that he normally is, but
especially now when they're playing
likely
at the Braves field, truest park.
And he's he came back way early. At least he's contributing to the team. So I don't want to say it's an excuse, but it's just a reason. Along with guys like Trey Turner, who had a phenomenal World Baseball Classic and then just kind of had a real slow start. Hopefully now they're kind of getting into midseason form. Guys like Aaron Nola with their pitching that had issues with the pitch clock and stuff at the start of the season. Hopefully they're getting used to that and it's not becoming so much of an issue for them on the mound. So with the inconsistency they're having, I'm just I'm cautiously optimistic. I just hope they can keep it going.
Yeah, one thing that's standing out to me is Kyle Schwarber, who's, hitting bombs, 21 home runs this year, but the average is still underneath that Mendoza line, 186, right on the money. Yeah, so do you think that he turns that around, or is it good enough? He's still giving you guys good offensive output, especially in this day and age of the way that the game of baseball is played.
And all it takes is somebody like him getting hot at the right time, like in the playoffs,
right?
And then he can carry us. And we've seen last year what we can do in the playoffs when you can put 7-8 runs up against the team in one inning. You got a chance to beat anybody.
I like that, man. I like that a lot. Vlad Jr. is in. Well, I like that to the extent of just don't win the NL East and don't knock us out of the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Deal? No, absolutely not. Vlad Jr. is in the home run derby along with Julio Rodriguez and Mookie Betts. So that leaves 5 spots left. Who are some other names that you would like to see? The Dodgers, I found this interesting. The Dodgers have never had a home run derby winner. The last to reach the final round was Jock Peterson in 2015 when they were at Great American Ballpark, and he lost to Todd Frazier there.
I think, it's hard to make teams participate.
Yeah.
I would like them to see that they maybe, should have one person from every team. Or
30.
Well, I guess if you can do it that way. Now, I wasn't really thinking, I guess, fully when I said that because it might be too many. But in that way, shape, or form, that everybody's team can be included. If even if you're like a fan of the Oakland Athletics, you have somebody there that you can root for. You have some interest in watching.
Who would
event.
go for?
I don't know.
For the A's, it would either be maybe Langoliers. I don't know what his home run total is at. And then my other, I guess, Brent Rooker.
So I just feel sorry for some of these franchises out there that don't, have a horse in a race. They really have nobody there to participate. It would make it, I think, a lot better.
I think that could be a fun way to look at it. I'm trying to look over here at the A's to see.
Again, the home run derby is like the dunk contest in basketball, and people usually don't want to do it. We've seen how many times whoever wins it ends up throwing their shoulders out from swinging for the fences for a half hour or an hour of hitting home runs, and then their swing's gone the rest of the season.
Yeah, so for the A's, it would be Brent Rooker, who's got 13 home runs. Shea Langoliers is right behind him with 9 home runs. This could be interesting if we took every team.
Shohei would be cool out there, obviously.
Yeah, Shohei would be cool. I don't know if he's going to participate.
I'm sure he probably
in it. I think
not.
If he was going to, he'd already be.
He's got too much going on, and what's why would you risk what he has going on for his team? Because if something happens to that guy, it's not one player you're down 2. You're out a star pitcher and you're out a slugger.
That's a good point, which is why he's going to be paid a lot of
million.
money.
You got to pay him 2 players because he is 2 players. Like I said, if he goes down, you're essentially down 2 players in your lineup.
That's a great point. I'm going over here to ESPN to check out the leaders in home runs, which Shohei Ohtani is on top of that list with 29. Matt Olson, would he be a good home run derby contestant?
I don't think he crushes them normally.
Yeah, he does crush.
He's been hitting some decent ones, but you want your guys that are normally, like I said, the guys that can rake. Like right now, like an Ellie De La Cruz, from what we've seen, right?
Nah, I can't say he hasn't done enough at this level. He's done enough to show me he can do it and everything and all that good stuff.
Well,
but I don't think you can play 30 games. I don't think
they're hurting for talent.
How are you hurting for talent when Vlad Jr., Julio Rodriguez, and Mookie Betts are in there? I think
who else though? You got 3 people,
right? And you still got room for 5 more. And I like that. I like Ellie De La Cruz as next year would be a perfect spot on the home run derby. My thing is, had he came up, let's say mid-May, then I think right there, then it's boom.
My perfect argument to this is when we were talking about, what was it, the McDonald's game earlier in the year, and Bronny was getting to be in it, but he wasn't the top 24 player in the nation.
100%.
But he gets to be in because why? It's a TV show.
Yeah.
And it's about ratings and getting eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
Who would do that? right now. ELDC. If you put him in there,
Ellie De La Cruz
people would watch just for that.
They would, but then here's the other flip side of that. If you're
Where's
Ellie,
Adam at? Adam, where you at?
Oh, I'm sure any Reds fan would love to see Ellie De La Cruz. But my thing is if I was a Reds fan, I wouldn't want to see it. Same way with Ronald Acuna Jr. when I really wanted to see him in there. And then you see him in that format and you're like, this isn't a great look for him. And Ellie seems to be that. Like, hustle players, for whatever reason, don't seem to do that great at the home run derby. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Ronald Acuna, even though he's been blasted for not hustling
but that's
in some
not
instances.
That's not what he's known for, is like you said, being a big-time slugger like that.
Right.
He's known for his quickness.
But same with Ellie, though. Even though he slugged a couple, but like Ronald's hit more 450-foot bombs than anyone this year.
Yeah, but like he was also doing it like, in the majors coming up, and that's why there's so much hype for this kid, too.
Yeah. And there is hype around.
But he is going against that kind of competition as well, but, granted.
Right.
It's not
and I don't even know how many home runs he's got to this point in the season, which is another factor.
If that's the case, then you want your guys like Tatis. You want your guys that can rake. You want all the big name guys.
I want to see Pete Alonso again. If it's going to be a Brave, I'd rather see Olsen there, who's second in the league.
I would say no Harper just because of the injury, and he's still coming
I don't
back.
think
You don't want to,
you can't
risk
have Aaron
anything.
Judge for the same exact reason right there.
That.
You can't throw Max Muncy in because he's already going. Like, you've already got Mookie Betts, so I don't want to see two Dodgers in there. If so, I'd rather just go to the 30-team home run derby, as you were mentioning, and go that way. Trout, even though he's not, hitting a ton of home runs this year, I still think
rake.
Anytime you put Trout in
and you're throwing them like meatballs across the plate.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And also, I would still be 100% down with some legends getting involved, like Ken Griffey Jr. Like, does it not make sense for Ken Griffey Jr.
Well, you said it's a TV show, right? You're supposed to be trying to bring eyeballs.
But where is this All-Star game going to be played at this year?
I don't even remember.
Seattle.
Oh, Seattle, yeah.
So a perfect place for Ken Griffey Jr. to kind of come out and maybe not be a part of the actual home run derby, but before the home run derby, get him and get,
Tomei or something like that.
Somebody like that. Even Alex Rodriguez, if you will, and reenact what they did in the minor leagues, and get them to just go round for round, go to the old style, just go 10 pitches, whatever, you know what I mean? But you have to swing it every single pitch.
That's like the old back. I remember when I was a kid, they showed those old black and white reruns of the old home run derby where guys like DiMaggio and stuff were out there. And I remember checking that out when I was a kid and thinking to myself, too, like in the 80s, why the hell aren't they doing this right now? Like, what's wrong with baseball?
Well, at least they're doing it now.
Yeah, but I mean, like back then, too, when you only had 4 channels, okay, it was a lot easier to get eyeballs on stuff on TV because there wasn't as the availability wasn't out
you
there.
Didn't have choices.
Nowadays, you have a bazillion channels. You can stream this. You can find this on Facebook. So there's all kinds of other reasons to look at something else other than that. But back in that time, you had the opportunity where you really could have got a following, and then imagine how huge it could be like today if they had 30 years of this going on before. I don't know. Just a thought.
That's a good point. The only thing I'm glad about, or not the only thing, but one of the things I'm glad about is that they did go from that 10-pitch format where you could take all day to swing and
not juice balls either that they're throwing.
You don't know that they're not juiced, though.
I don't know.
We have no idea what Rob Manfred's do. There's no way that those All-Star game.
No, I'm talking the 50s. Like back when like they were doing that show back then, like in the 50s, they weren't. It was more real. Now it's like I said, juiced balls, probably corked bats at the home run derby and stuff like that. Hopefully nobody breaks one like a Sosa.
Have you ever handled a baseball from the 1950s?
No.
I mean, how are we to know that it wasn't juiced?
I don't know, but like somebody could, because like I've heard pitchers like today, you could take 20 baseballs or 15 baseballs, throw them inside of a pillowcase or something you can't see through. You can put one ball from like the 80s in there, and you can put ones from today in there, and they can stick their hand in there, and they will pull out the one that's different. They know because that's their job. Okay, it's just like deflating footballs.
Then why didn't we in the middle of the season last year know the difference? Why did we wait until the end of the season to be told, not by players? Because in this age of social media, I feel like the players would have said, it feels like I'm throwing like 3 to 4 different types of balls.
I don't know, but I just know like I've heard stories like that. I've seen stuff on Facebook.
I agree when you're talking different eras like from the 80s to especially where we're at today, but that would be interesting just for like an average fan or whatever to go through. And you know how they have those videos on Facebook or whatever where they've got like a box in front of them and they've got different drinks and they've got to name what drink. So the same way, like you put your hands through the box or whatever and you feel the baseballs and then
you can grab a ball from back then. You can look at them back then. The reason why you don't see pitchers on the mound anymore, I'm sorry, not on the mound, you don't see them like on the IR now with like finger blisters. The ball is a lot more smooth. The laces aren't raised like they were. Years ago, the laces were raised more. Hence, there was more friction, and then hence you got more blisters on your fingers. So a pitcher might be out and miss a start or two because of that.
Would that hurt or help the spin rate?
I would think it would help the spin rate.
That's what I would think too. And then I'm thinking about
go back to balls like that. And then like if you want to use the friction to get more spin, you're going to also have the detriment to your fingers of maybe having the blisters. So you're going to have to be judicious in how you throw the ball so that you don't miss starts and such. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe that would make it a little bit more like fair, I guess. I don't know.
You know
wouldn't have to
what
worry.
Is fair for, Caveman Rick?
Judging pigs and pies.
All right, then. So get that word out of this vocabulary here.
But then the pitchers like Jay, they wouldn't be using bullfrog and sweat and things like that to make it more tacky. The ball on its own would be okay.
If the laces had a little bit more tack, then they'd be
or raised up
that.
where you can actually grip them a little bit more with your fingers.
I'm with that. And then it would also more than likely, you would like to think, or I would like to think, bring back the knuckleball to
that'd be sick if people were throwing that kind of stuff. Like that's probably the more Asian type thing. Like you've seen these fancier, like I called them designer pitches coming from overseas,
or
the sweeper and stuff like that. That they're experimenting with.
Yeah, which is very interesting. It's really cool that we're to this stage in the game and they're still coming up with pitches and ways to spin the ball differently.
Well, I think
even
back
though it's
in the day, it was like there was unwritten rules. It was like you had like just a few different pitches and that was it. Nobody was like trying new things because it was kind of like set in stone that this is how you play the game and this is just like
I don't know, because then you started getting like the splitter. When did that start becoming popular? Like 80s?
That's what I'm saying though. But
90s?
Like for a while there though, it was almost like they played the game a certain way for a very long time, and then you had younger minds coming in that were more accepting, more open-minded to like doing different things in the sport, changing it somewhat.
Yeah.
Before it was all about like tradition. Like look at golf and
it's
stuff.
Still very heavily entrenched in tradition for the most part.
Well, that's why they don't want to go to pitch clocks and all that kind of stuff, and they don't want to have a clock involved with the game because it's one of the things they don't want to have. Sort of like golf too. It's really old and stuffy and about tradition, and they don't want to change. Or like the reason why they had the problem with LIV. These changes were coming whether they liked it or not, but the PGA just was kicking and screaming. They didn't want to change.
Well, it's changing in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I think it's going to be good for the game of golf. I'm really interested to see what happens with the future of LIV because I do think that it's going to continue to be a thing. And I also think that
there's too much money there.
This stuff might not be all over and done with, as they say, because the lawsuit can never be brought back up again because of the way that it was dropped with prejudice or whatever that means. But
that was by design, I think.
They can't recruit PGA players again until the end of the 2024 season, which leads me to believe the end of that 2024 season, it could get a little wild again.
I think you're going to have a mass exodus.
Well, because of the way that the PGA Tour handled all of this, I could very easily see some of your top tier guys saying, you know what?
They don't have the money to compete.
Well, not just that, but just saying, you know what? The way that you guys did us and you kind of made us look like a fool and then turned about face without even giving us any type of a warning, we're going to do the same thing to you and just leave you on your own because we know that when we go over here, financially wise, we're going to be better off than what we were here.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what's the difference? It is, and again, that's all just kind of speculation, my speculation. I don't know what's going to end up happening with it all, and you just got to follow the inside drive.
Follow the money.
Well, you follow the money, and then follow the inside drive from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley, and you'll get great answers there. We're just about 4 minutes away from RJ Starcevic joining us. We're going to go around the track with him, or around the street course, I guess you would say, today, because he's up there in Chicago right now. Who's been the biggest disappointment in Major League Baseball to this point?
Man, that's kind of a tough one. I guess
I've got two, so I don't want to go first.
I would say you got to go with the Mets, I guess, with how much money that they've spent, the promise and expectations that ownership, the brass, the fan base had going into this year, how can you not say them? I guess that's got to be at least one of them.
The
off the
Mets,
top of my head.
The Mets are definitely one of them. But that's not one of the two that I had in mind. I would say that you've got. With the Mets, that would be three teams. They were definitely someone who I was going to include. But the Red Sox are last in the AL East. I don't think that they're doing anything that is, that disappointing. Yeah. I didn't have high expectations for them, but the fact that they're even sitting around 500 is a good thing, and a good thing for the AL East. The White Sox, you can make the argument that they're somewhat disappointing because they've had so much hype around them the last 3 years, but never get anything done, so it's not realistic hype. The Mariners maybe should be a little bit better than three games under 500 and 10 games back in the West, but the Rangers, who was expecting the Rangers to do that? My number one overall team, bar none, is the Padres because of that lineup. Like, I know the Mets have a lot of money invested in their top two heads in the rotation, their starting pitching rotation there with Verlander and Max Scherzer, but with the Padres, Tatis, Soto, Bogarts, like the list goes on and on.
I think they'll get rolling. I think with the suspension problems
and maybe the Mets could as well, but I'm saying for where I'm at right now to this point in the season, for me, it's the Padres, and another team I would throw out there would be the Cardinals.
I'd also mention the Yankees with all the money they've spent, and their expectations this year too was pretty much World Series.
Yeah, but they're still sitting there in 9.5 games. Like, if the season ended today, 4 of the 5 teams in the AL East would be in the playoffs, and the Yankees would be one of those teams. Whereas the Padres, who were vying for the division up against the Dodgers, or it was between them and the Dodgers.
I think they got a tougher situation though too, where they're at.
Who? Then the Yankees?
No, I'm talking. Well, I mean, over there, in the NL West. I mean, you got the Dodgers are like a super team.
The Dodgers
with
are
all
a super
their
team.
Talent they got. The Giants aren't too bad.
Well, they have no business being where they're at, but they're doing great things.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
So,
and then the Diamondbacks came out of nowhere as well. So preseason or spring training, if you will.
Yeah, I guess where you're coming from saying that with X kind of expectations, that's fair, I guess, too. Yeah.
And I'll go as far as to say that the NL West is the second best division in baseball, up there with the AL West right now, right? Because I think it's the AL East, and it's not even close. Like, I know that run differential isn't the end-all, be-all, but every one of those teams have a positive run differential, and then you've only got one team that's under 500. Your last place team is 40-42, and there's not another division that can boast that or even really come close to it. The NL West is kind of up there because their top 3 teams are above 500, and then you go to the West and their top 3 teams as well there are above 500, but nothing like what the AL East is doing. How those teams stay afloat there is, and the fact that the Rays are doing it with $76 million on their payroll is just absolutely crazy. But it's time for us to go around the track with RJ Starcevic. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida is on location at Dave & Buster's. The Afternoon Underdogs are broadcasting live at Dave & Buster's Pier Park with half-price cocktails, half-price games, free Dave & Buster's game cards, and choice swag from ESPN Northwest Florida. Join David, Kyle, Amanda, Drew, and a cast of sports fanatics every Wednesday from 4 to 6 with fun and prizes at Dave & Buster's Pier Park with ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Friday. For tonight, a chance of thunderstorms and mostly clear skies and a low of 80 with a calm wind around 3 miles per hour coming out of the west-southwest. Tomorrow morning, mostly sunshine with temps around 90. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 90. Moving into Sunday, the same with a high of 90 and some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullet, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Hi, I'm Tracy, your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to be helpful and to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Pick your sparkle and use our easy layaway plan. Every woman deserves an exquisite diamond from your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We don't work on commissions.
We work for smiles and I-dos.
So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, stop by and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
The battle for a sixth straight division crown is on, and the Braves are on a charge to bring it home to Atlanta.
3-1. That is jolted. Deep right center field and kiss that goodbye. 1-0 Braves on the homer by Olsen.
Tonight, division rivals clash at Truist Park in Atlanta as the Atlanta Braves take on Jorge Soler and the Miami Marlins.
Coverage starts tonight at 6, right after the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
When the sun sets on the Emerald Coast, the freaks come out and play.
Hi, I'm a recovering crackhead.
Hand me that shotgun.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Get on your knees!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back, and it is time to go around the track with RJ Starcevic. But before we do that, this is ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Atlanta Braves. And first pitch tonight is at 6:20 against the Marlins. The Braves are sponsored locally by Best Way Portable Buildings, Dave & Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium. RJ Starcevic, host and creator of the NASCAR Report on Instagram. RJ, what's going on up there in Chicagoland?
It's going for sure, man. Chicago, great to be here. Obviously, as you know, we're going to talk about it. Chicago Street Course this weekend, a first-time ever event in NASCAR. Going to be really surreal. It's already been surreal seeing the track get put together. But how's it holding up down there in Florida? I know it's really, really hot when I
Pretty
left.
warm.
Is it still cooking that way?
It is. It's still cooking. You know, I haven't reached boiling point yet, but nearing there every single second it seems. But no, really can't wait for this race this Sunday. Tell us about the track and what we can expect from it at the Chicago Street Course.
Well, the track, my first observations were it's very tight. Obviously, it's a street course race. We know a lot of NASCAR tracks we go to have runoff room. They're wider race tracks. They're paved race tracks. This track is very tight. It is, when they say street course, it is really the streets that, citizens drive on every day. That is what they'll be racing on this weekend. And so there is not much room for runoff. If you cook it into the corner a little bit too hard, you're going into the wall or you're going into the tire barriers, it seems like, or you're going into somebody else, or all the above. So it has the blueprint for a very chaotic race, but it has the blueprint for also a very fun race. It's something we've never seen before. I think these Cup Series cars that we have are, they're kind of more so built for this racetrack, being more sporty than, the Xfinity cars, which are still more of a stock car or a classic stock car. But yeah, the track's very tight. It's very unique. A lot of 90-degree turns after some long straightaways, which I think will be the most intriguing. Obviously, you'll have a lot of passing points, I think, in this track. Passing points as in somebody's going to have to dive bomb it. They're dive bomb-worthy corners. So, but nonetheless, I think the crew's done an amazing job setting up the track, getting to walk around it yesterday with, peaceful. Nobody else is really there besides people setting up the racetracks. It's very interesting to get it set up, to see it get set up. And I know that the traffic is going to be wild this weekend. The crowd's going to be wild. It's just going to be definitely a first-time ever event for NASCAR that's going to be very surreal. And I know TV is going to do a good job at letting you guys all soak it in as well.
You mentioned the Cup Series car is kind of set up a little bit better for this, but I was curious, have you been to the garage or anything yet and noticed any of the differences or heard any of the differences in the ways that the cars will be set up for the street course race?
I think the cars will be kind of set up the same way as for any road course. As what I've heard, there might be a few tweaks. Because they've only really had simulator time to really bet on how their car should be exactly set up for this race. So that's why the practice sessions tomorrow will be important. Xfinity is going to be a one-day show. They're going to have practice tomorrow, qualifying, and they're going to race. So the Cup Series will have practice and qualifying tomorrow and then race on Sunday. I think the adjustments will be huge. They're literally going to get 55 minutes on the racetrack, and that's it. that's, all the time you're going to have before you jump into qualifying and jump into the race. So I think the setups changes will be massive. The drivers are going to have a lot to learn. The teams are going to have a lot to learn. But I think going into these races, at least from what I've heard, it's going to be just very similar to a road course setup. Obviously want the car to handle good. They want the car to brake very well. But I think the drivers and teams are going to learn a lot in just, their 55-minute practice session tomorrow.
Hey, RJ, K-Ban Rick, thanks for giving us some of your time today. With all these adjustments you're talking about and the time constraints, obviously it's because they got to shut down city streets of a busy, city like Chicago. Who's this going to benefit, do you think? Or is there anybody that's really going to, have a detriment due to the lack of time and, maybe messing up the routine, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I as the drivers, I'm sure the drivers would want, some more time on the racetrack for sure. But I think it's just a result of, like you mentioned, how tight the schedule's got to be because they're closing down some really busy streets to make this race happen. And, there were a few streets that they didn't even close down until last night. So there was a few streets that involved part of the racetrack, that didn't get closed until last night. So they left, all the streets they could open as long as they could. And now, it's official. All the track is pretty much fully set up, ready for tomorrow. For the Xfinity Series, I know they initially were not going to be at this event. It was kind of a late addition. They said, all right, we're going to have the Xfinity Series be the support series there as well. And so they're kind of just thrown into this thing where they all got here today. They're all unloading literally in the middle of the road, which is quite hilarious. The visual where they're kind of unloading all the haulers, and like right next to them is literally just a street where normal citizens are just driving like normal, and they're probably looking to their left, looking at these haulers unloading, like what the hell is going on, And so it's an interesting visual for sure. But yeah, they're going to have a very, very quick day tomorrow. Just practice, qualifying, and then race, and then this crazy event's all over for them. So very compact schedule. I'm sure the drivers would like to have more time, but I know with all the circumstances, I think all parties kind of worked out and did the best they could for each side.
We'll continue to focus on Chicago here, but I do have a couple of questions that deviate from just slightly, or more or less get your opinions on courses or tracks in general. Do you like the street course setup? Obviously, this is the first time happening in NASCAR history. Do you like the street course setup better than road course setups? Not car setups, but actual track setup.
I mean, for a guy that really, I think the street courses are definitely kind of like surreal when you look at them. I mean, I've been to the St. Pete Grand Prix.
Pretty cool. I've been there before, yeah.
Course. Yeah, the only street course I've kind of been to before. So it's like, being somebody, I think for me, being a guy that, has grown up visiting downtown Chicago all the time, seeing these streets and kind of, the city that I love turned into a racetrack, is definitely incredibly surreal. Will it make for a good racing product? We'll see. But I even said when they first announced this, I'm a little biased because I'm excited to see what, downtown Chicago is going to look like as a racetrack. And, sometimes we don't totally shy away from chaos. So if it's chaos, maybe it'll be fun. But I think the traditional road course setup will always kind of be above the street course setup just because of, it's a little bit easier to set up, obviously, for street races like this, especially in a busy city like this, to put on a big event. It takes a lot of things to happen to make this possible. And there's going to be kinks this weekend. There's going to be things that, they'll work out that they'll hope to improve next year because this is really NASCAR's first time doing something like this. So obviously there's going to be some issues that we'll run into this weekend. To whereas, there are a lot of great road courses in the world, that are already set up, sitting there, multi-purpose tracks, can suit all different forms of racing around the world. You think of Watkins Glen, the amount of racing that happens there. Circuit of the Americas, the amount of racing that happens there. Holds an F1 race as well. So, F1 kind of visited that idea of building a street course technically in Miami as well. Yeah. So, and they're going to do the same thing in Las Vegas. So it's becoming more of a common thing to where it's like, okay, are we going to keep visiting these tracks, or should we bring, I think I saw a good comment yesterday. It's like, all right, we're going to keep asking them to come to us, or are we going to bring the show to them? And so NASCAR's visual here is we're bringing the show to the city of Chicago. Almost, there's some people down there in the city of Chicago that live there, that work there. It's almost like they have no choice but to, figure out what NASCAR is and what this event is. So I think it's definitely becoming a trend to where it's like, okay, we might not be doing this in Chicago street course thing for like 2-3 years, but Could they bring it to another city? Could they bring it, somewhere else and test out another market with the same concept? I think that's their goal here, and we're going to find out if it works out.
I like that. Honestly, I love that answer. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're on the line with contributor for TobyChristie.com, RJ Starcevic. RJ, let me ask you your opinion on how do you think regular NASCAR, or not regular NASCAR fans, let me say the mass of NASCAR fans, the purest NASCAR fans, how do you think they feel about the street course here and, the Busch Light Clash? And does that matter? Like, what do you think their thoughts are? What are you hearing or reading on social media?
Well, I think definitely seeing a lot of, I guess, as you say, the purest NASCAR fans. I feel like initially, it does depend what kind of fan you are, like you mentioned, but I know there's a lot of people that initially, when you could first hear this idea, at first, like, we're going to go race in downtown Chicago, we're going to race in a football stadium. You hear that statement, and you're like, what the, like, how the hell are we going to make this happen? Like, it sounds like a dumpster fire waiting to happen, but you kind of, then as the event gets closer, you see all the logistics get worked out. You see, kind of how surreal the visual is of the event, seeing them build that racetrack in the LA Coliseum. There was nothing like it. Seeing this racetrack in person for me being built in downtown Chicago with the skyline in the background, or at least what we can see of the skyline, since, it's a little smoky up here, but it's definitely a surreal visual, and I think, the greatest thing for NASCAR is that we have some two clean races this weekend, because I know that NASCAR's done some new things before, and we've had some very chaotic, just road course races, with a lot of crashing. We don't, hopefully we don't want to give the sport a bad image or a crashing image. We want to have this event be great for fans to come to, and kind of also for people to take seriously at the same time. So there's a lot of concerts this weekend. There's a huge concert stage right outside the racetrack. It's actually insane how big that thing is. I did not think it would be that big, but it's huge. And so I think the weekend has, like I said, has the blueprint to be a really great weekend. There's going to be some kinks, some issues that, a lot of people really into NASCAR, the pure NASCAR fans, are going to find, and they're going to be like, this went wrong, why are we doing this? But, NASCAR's goal is to improve it for the next time that they do it. So, we'll see. There's been a lot of drawback, obviously. There's been some positive feedback as well. Either way, it's all going to culminate this weekend, and we're going to really see how the race goes.
Hey, RJ, with the race being in Chicago, do you think at the end of the race, whoever wins this, are they going to present them with like a deep dish pizza for them to take a bite out of, or do something kind of like with the Indy 500, how they're famous for drinking milk after a big win, and kind of turn that into like some kind of traditional kind of a thing?
Well, that would be gas. That would make me drive a little bit faster in the race if they were offering a deep dish pizza from Chicago in Victory Lane. I think that would be something definitely look into. I think you're really on the right track here, because I don't even think I've heard anybody mention
a company or a restaurant out there that's really well known. It could be a good way to get them some publicity out there. This pie is from whoever, and kind of stuff you can't buy, national recognition.
There's a ton of them downtown. There's a ton of places that I think would love to do that, especially if they could do a little trade-off, like, hey, we're going to close down all your streets for a few days, but, we'll promote your food. I think that'd be a great trade-off right there, but I haven't really heard anybody mention that.
If you hear anybody talk about it, tell them about my idea and tell them to send me some royalties.
Yeah.
I will tell them your idea. I think I'll have to put that out there. I might have to tweet about that, and I'll credit you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Credit you right there. Because I think that's a great idea. I mean, yeah, Indianapolis has that famous, you choose the milk you want to eat, and you could choose the pizza. Every driver could choose. Yeah,
you could have a 3-meat. You can do anchovies. If somebody's a vegan, they can do just all vegetables. I wouldn't do that, but hey, maybe somebody's from the state of Hawaii and they want pineapple and ham on theirs. Who knows?
There's a hell of a lot of options you can do with pizza. So I think we're on the right track here. We could really make something happen, and I'll be able to talk to people at the track tomorrow, and I'll let them know that this is something that
great stuff.
It might be a little late to make it happen this year if they haven't thought of it already, but next year,
I think they can make it happen. You just got to order one up and have it ready at the end, man. They could actually probably work it out during the race if you want to, be technical about it. But
that is true. That is true. We could make it happen for this weekend. But yeah, I think that's actually great. It really they've done a great job tying in the city to this event with a lot of the events that they've done this week. But I think that'd be another great way to do
Bring your new draft pick from the Blackhawks, Connor Bedard, have him out there. That might be pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Bring him out there, have him serve up the deep dish pizza to the winner of the race. I like it. I like it, man.
There you go. We're coming up with solutions around here. I wanted to ask you, since we've made the switch over from Fox to NBC, do you prefer, like, if you had a choice, if each week they gave you a broadcast that you could either choose to watch on Fox or NBC, what would your preference be?
Man, there are so many great people at Fox that work at Fox. I love them all, but man, NBC just really gets me in that like, you know, and it may just because they have the last half of the year and the playoffs and everything, and they can really capitalize on some really important moments. But I just feel like, you know, for a fan that really needs to get into the sport, wants to hear all the information, wants to feel the hype of an event, you gotta, you know, NASCAR and NBC just really hits it. You know, they really hit the presentation. They really hit the broadcasting feel. They make, you know, lesser events feel bigger than they should. Sometimes, where it seems like we've gotten to an era where maybe Fox is a little lackluster sometimes. They're kind of, you know, and that's not a bad thing, because maybe you're some guy that's just tuned in for fun and you don't mind a laid-back broadcast, and sometimes that's good. And, I mean, Mike Joy is amazing. We love Mike Joy over there at Fox. But as far as for me and where I'm at now, like, I just, you know, broadcasting NBC just really, you know, gives you all the information you need to know, gives you a real great big event feel. I'm sure they've already been, you know, taking advantage of this weekend as much as they could to really promote it and have it out there. And NBC does a lot of big events as well, especially in racing. So I know they do, you know, the Kentucky Derby and a lot of other races. So they know how to really give a big event feel. And so, you know, I think they really do a great job of capitalizing on that.
Give me your 4 for the Xfinity and for the Cup Series here, 4-piece.
All right. So Xfinity, the interesting thing about this weekend, no Cup drivers allowed, so you can't run 2 races this weekend. You know, can't get some extra practice before the Cup Series race, because I feel like if they allowed that, there would be a ton of Cup drivers in the Xfinity Series race. So we do have a Cup Series owner in the Xfinity race. Justin Marks, owner of Trackhouse, is driving for colleagues, so I'll throw him into my 4 for fun, because I think, I mean, he's a really good driver on street courses, and I think he'll have a great chance to get something done. So I'll throw him in there. Yeah, Justin Marks, going to be really cool to see him racing. He hasn't raced in the Xfinity Series in a few years. Obviously, he's been, you know, busy with owning a team, and he's coming off a win from Ross Chastain last weekend. So I think he's got some momentum. He's going to roll in there, and he's going to get the job done. So I'll throw Justin Marks in there. I might have to throw John Nemechek. I think week in, week out, he's going to be someone you're going to have to watch in that 20 car. I'm going to throw out my good old buddy from Alpha Prime Racing, Sage Karam, there. Really experienced street course racer. You know, is running sports cars, running Indy cars on street courses, and maybe, you know, with how chaotic the race is going to be, maybe you get somebody done. And then the 4th guy in my 4th, my group of 4 here will be Parker Kligerman. He'll be doing the broadcast for NBC on Sunday, so I think he's got a lot of road course experience, and maybe he can get the job done on Saturday. And then we move over to the Cup race, the big show, 4:30 Central Time. On NBC. I think let's roll with Ross Chastain as my first guy. I think he can keep the momentum. I think he can, you know, he had, obviously, last week seemed like a really, really relieving win for him. So I think this will kind of open the door for him to break through and keep on winning races. I'll go with Joey Logano, because every time we're on a new racetrack, Joey Logano seems to win, or be, you know, very successful. So I feel like that's just a guarantee. He's probably going to get a top 5. So let's throw him in there. So we got Chastain. We got Logano. Let's throw Tyler Reddick in there. You know, big weekend for 2311 Racing, and Michael Jordan, I think, is going to be here if he's not already. So I think, you know, Tyler Reddick is going to get the job done for 2311 pretty well. And let's see if there's any dark horse I can throw into here. Let's throw in Jenson Button, the F1 champion, driving for the 15 for Rick Ware Racing. It'll be prepared by Stuart Haas Racing, so we'll be in a good car. And obviously a lot of experience on everything at this point. I mean, Jenson Button's an absolute legend, so maybe he'll come out here, avoid the chaos, and get himself a W, or at least a really good finish on Sunday, because, you know, as you know, with this racetrack, it's going to be unpredictable. We're going to see what happens, but nonetheless, it's a really surreal racetrack, real surreal atmosphere for sure, and I'm going to be excited to head up there tomorrow and catch all the action.
I got two more for you real quick here because you brought up Jensen Button. There's going to be three other guys who have ties to street racing, F1, all of that good stuff. You got Jensen Button, you've got Shane Van Gisbergen, and Andy Lally. Who of those, out of those three, who finishes the best?
Yeah, I'd say the best. I think just because of the car he's in, I'll have to go with Jensen Button. But those are two guys that you cannot count out. I mean, Shane is going to be, he has experience all over the world, in sport cars. And I think he has, amazing. Obviously, he's a Trackhouse car as well. So he has potential to be really, really fast this weekend. They'll have a whole practice session as well. And you can never count out Andy Lally. That guy's an absolute veteran in the racing world, but NASCAR as well. I mean, he's, not only been driving all over the world for years, but he's been driving NASCARs here and there. Every year, he's at least in about 4 to 5, road course races, I would say, for various teams, various series, but he's there. So he's got experience. He'll be running more races this year with Rick Ware Racing. Rick Ware Racing's got himself a killer lineup this weekend. I mean, you got Jensen Button and Andy Lally in there for RWR. But Andy Lally, definitely not somebody to sleep on. But if I'm going to go with the pick, I got to go with Jensen Button. He just drove that Garage 56 car over there in Le Mans, too. So he's got some experience under his belt driving a stock car or road course. So I'm going to bet on good old Jensen.
And then the last one here, I'm trying to keep it quick, though. Would it be crazier to see the Jacksonville Jaguars playing some regular season football games at Daytona International Speedway, or, as we've already seen, would that be crazier than seeing NASCAR there at the LA Coliseum for the Busch Light Clash?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I honestly think it would be crazier to see a football team playing in the Daytona infield, because I really don't know how they'd set that up. Like, racing in a Coliseum like we've seen. And now I guess they played soccer games at Daytona, I think. But I never really saw how that's set up, never went there.
How would the crowd see it from the stands?
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be very weird. Are they going to set up like bleachers on the tri oval? I mean, it could be an option for sure. You're going to set up bleachers on pit road or something. For the other side of the field. I don't know. I mean, I'd love for it to happen because I would definitely go to see what that would even look like. But I'm definitely shocked that they're considering that. But hey, Daytona's a big facility, has a big draw, and obviously not too far from Jacksonville. So I think it would work out. But that would definitely be crazy. I'd definitely say that's a little crazier than the LA Coliseum, racing in the LA Coliseum.
Awesome. We appreciate it, RJ. Enjoy the Chicago Street Race, man. That is going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to tune into it. And then we'll catch up with you Monday at 4:20 if you've got time. If not, we'll do it sometime next week.
Sounds good. I'll definitely have time. I'll be here in Chicago still, so I'll be still in the flesh to recap the weekend. It'll be a fun weekend. Hope everybody enjoys it. I'll talk to you all Monday.
They had chariot racing back in the old Coliseum in Rome, so it's probably not that crazy to have racing in the Coliseum.
That is true.
We'll see you, RJ. Take care, man. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. Head on over to Instagram and follow the NASCAR report. Keep it locked in for the final segment of the afternoon.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The tradition continues.
That ball is going to be out of here.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Bombs away.
The Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Head first slide, 2 RBI triple.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Bestway Portable Buildings, Dave & Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium.
The road is yours this summer in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by and check out the Bill Bird Kia SUV family that is built for all-in adventures and endless possibilities. Whether you're traveling on the highways or off-road, you'll do it with grace and grit. Now offering 3.25% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort and safety and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind that you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $22.22 per month per $1,000 finance at 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7/5/23.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they now serve delicious food? Check out the break room's daily lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, air-fried chicken, and more. Plus the best burgers, hot dogs, and you gotta try the Sammy of the day. The break room on Panama City Beach at the corner of Joan Avenue and North Lagoon. For more information, check them out on Facebook.
Chef Ross here. We're open daily at 11 at the break room.
It moves fast. Let's go. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, a little T-Swift for the Swifties out there. You're right, and with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, and you're just mere minutes away from the Atlanta Braves taking over the airwaves. Getting a little Mike Soroka at 6:20 this afternoon. Going to be hoping for a great outing tonight, and then 2 home runs from the Braves as well. A little bit of breaking news. Draymond Green has signed with the Golden State Warriors. He just signed a 4-year, $100 million contract with a player option in that final season there. Staying with the Warriors, he's played his whole career with the Golden State Warriors. That's been 11 years, and he did not help out Steph Curry and Klay Thompson too much yesterday in the match. I don't know if you got to watch any of it. I got to watch the last 4 holes, which by that point, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes were already up 4-up. I mean,
those dudes
they were
are pretty
up 4
good.
holes. Well, see, to me, what it came down to, we know Steph Curry's good at golf. We know Mahomes is good at whatever he ventures into doing, right. But it was going to come down to who was going to be the better help player, Travis Kelce and Klay Thompson. And it was Travis Kelce when he was hitting shots that I didn't even think he was capable of.
Was it last year he was part of one where he made that?
Travis Kelce. I've never seen Travis Kelce play golf.
Or was it the other day? I don't know. He made a ridiculous, long putt that, went with the curve of the green. I've seen a highlight. I'm guessing it was in another event, maybe a Pro-Am or something. So from what I've seen in the past, I'm not kind of surprised because it seems like he's got that kind of talent.
Well, he surprised the heck out of me, and they won that event handedly. It's a charity event and all that good stuff. The best part of the match is not the golf that's being played. There's 2 things. There is the commentary that's coming from Ernie Johnson, from Chuck, and all of those guys, and then there's the commentary between the golfers, and then it's not the good golf shots that we're looking forward to, even though those are, they're a dime a dozen out there, but it's the bad golf shots. It's the ones that you're like, oh man,
these guys
I
are
can go
normal.
play golf with you,
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, they're much better than what I am, but I'd like to see him take on Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley. Good luck with that, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
Especially with Mahomes and Curry. Their parents being professional athletes to begin with. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they had a lot more opportunity than maybe some other people to be involved with a sport like golf when they were a lot younger. Hence, they're probably going to be maybe a little bit better than some of the other athletes or just other people out there that might not have some of those advantages.
Yeah, I mean, if you play golf more, you're going to have a leg up, but then there's other people who are...
And you're just a good athlete, too.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the more interesting point from this particular match was that it was the first time that it was been teammates, and it was NBA players versus NFL, or NBA teammates rather, versus NFL teammates. And yeah, man, Patrick Mahomes, I think it was Von Miller that said, when he starts trash talking, it's already over, and then when he starts congratulating you and telling you how good of a player you are, that's when you really know that it's over, which is just a testament to how good Patrick Mahomes is at everything that he does, but specifically playing that position of quarterback in the National Football League. Also, the Portland Trail Blazers are in agreement. Now, again, none of these free agency deals are finalized until tomorrow. July 1st hits, and then free agency is official at that point. So the deal with Draymond and the Warriors is not necessarily official, but Woj is reporting on it, so you can go ahead and bet your bottom dollar that that's going to be happening. And then the Trailblazers getting a deal done with Jeremy Grant for 5-year, $160. There's some other signings as well, like Kyle Kuzma is going to be staying with the Washington Wizards. The Pacers surprisingly made a good pickup. They bring over over Bruce Brown from the Denver Nuggets on a 2-year, $45 million deal there. So that's also maybe the Pacers are trying to make a move to get to 10th place next year in the East.
And the Jeremy Grant move with the Portland Trailblazers, is that something they're doing to try to keep Dame? You know, like whatever they do,
I think regardless
whatever moves they make, it's going to be dependent on whether he stays or not.
But regardless of Dame staying or not, they were getting Jeremy Grant. They were making sure to get Jeremy Grant. And honestly, I mean, this is. Dude, the thing is they drafted Scoot Henderson, who plays the same position as Dame. If Dame wasn't happy with the draft, I don't think Dame is going to be a Portland Trail Blazer. But the fact is he loves that city and he loves that team so much, and that's why he's hung around. So for that, I think guys like me and you for sure are in that position to give the guy kudos, because it's like there's just not many. Even Draymond, right? Draymond becoming a free agent and then sticking it out with Golden State, which I think a lot of that had to do with, all right, look, for us to keep Draymond, we're more than likely going to have to get rid of Jordan Poole. So let's make that happen, and then we can keep our nucleus together.
Dame is actually acting like a Euro player. Somebody like a Jokic, a Luka, a Giannis that'll stay with the team, that's happy, that's thankful that, a community has embraced him, and a fan base, and wants to stay and make them happy. So good for him. Like I say, most people want to chase rings, chase bags of money. He's just content and seems like a good dude.
All right, man. So we will talk more about that as we inch closer to the NBA season, which is really not that far. Like, we have to wait forever and ever and ever for football to come. Like, that's what I was saying.
We're closer to football starting than when it ended, which is great.
That is true, which means we're just right around the corner. This is your local segment, and it's brought to you by Barbaritos. Y'all visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdogs sent you. Barbaritos, food, community, people. There was a team led by head coach Aaron Pale and assistant coach Adria Peden, and they sent 8 youth lifters to the Nationals in Colorado Springs. They're part of a club called Full Send Ollie, which the OLY stands for Olympics, and they focus on the Olympic lifts, the snatch, and the clean and jerk. Mackenzie Hatcher won 3rd in the snatch and 3rd in the clean and jerk. That was good enough to place her 3rd overall. Her travel and lifting partner, Ashlyn Ake, finished 8th overall. Grace Masters, who competed in the 18 junior division, placed 3rd in the snatch. Grace, she's adding now to her 2023 awards, as she also won state this past school season. Trey Peden, who competed in the 13U division, finished 2nd in the clean and jerk and placed 2nd overall in nation. Trey is just a 8th grader, but he has a good family tie with the team. His older sister, who's Jillian, she also participated at Nationals and placed 8th overall. You had lifter Aaron Presley. He finished 9th overall, and you had other lifters as well going Morgan Rapp, Madeline Kimball, Kaysen Komar, Marianne Masters, which is Grace's sister, and they represented their club well. So congratulations to all of them. Really cool to be able to go to Colorado Springs. I remember my first time ever going to Colorado Springs and being able to see the outside of the Olympic training center and all that stuff, and that was pretty cool. So to be able to go inside and compete and do the thing that you love, that is really, really awesome. Don't forget, Atlanta Braves coming up here shortly, and coverage starting at 6. First pitch, though, 6:20. Let's get a W for Mike Soroka. Hopefully those bats are jumping, and they can get 2 more home runs tonight. Speaking of cycles, we talked about Ellie De La Cruz, how impressive that was. 15th game in, and he completes the cycle, even though it was against the Braves. But Braden Shoemake, who was up for just a shortstop with the Braves, plays shortstop. He was competing with Von Grissom and Orlando Arcia for the shortstop job in spring training, but he got the cycle 2 nights ago, and that was the first in Gwinnett Stripers history. So really cool for Braden Shoemake. Keith Dimmich is watching on Facebook. He says, "Hi, David. What's going on, Keith, man? Hopefully everything is doing all right your way."
Gwinnett Stripers have been around for a while. Kind of crazy that that's their first cycle. You would have thought they probably would have had one, especially don't want to knock, lower level baseball, but sometimes with the lack of talent for pitching and stuff like that, you would think somebody would get, hit around pretty easy and something like that would happen.
That's a good point. I'm trying to remember who the Gwinnett Stripers were before they were the Stripers, because apparently they've been with the Braves since 2009.
As someone who lived there,
you go.
Yeah, it was the Gwinnett Braves.
That right.
It was the Richmond Braves before they came.
Richmond Braves. See, I remember that, and so when they went to Gwinnett, they became the Stripers. They came to Gwinnett as the Gwinnett Braves. Then later changed their name to the Stripers, which I thought was. You don't like the name?
No.
But the logo's cool though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's a great facility. I used to live right down the street, so I got to see a lot of the Gwinnett Braves players. I saw Hayward with a grand slam walk off in the 10th that just shook the stadium to the core. I said, this guy, he obviously, I'm no scout, but of course he was, yeah.
Dude, that's so awesome though, because AAA baseball, there's just AAA, AA, single A, it doesn't matter what they do for the community and the way that they kind of just tie it all into the game. It does not get better than that.
I saw Tom Glavin's very last game right there, and when he was coming back. He didn't get back, but that was his last time he played.
I don't have a problem with the name. I mean, it refers to Lake Lanier, right? The striped bass that they catch there, so being the Stripers. Sure. I mean, I guess it used to be in the Braves, but it's kind of fitting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that, and but they do have a really cool logo, and I can also, from his perspective, right, from Bone Crusher's perspective, where, we got to go, but where he's living there in Atlanta, and he's so used to it being Richmond Braves, and then all of a sudden it's Gwinnett Braves, and now it's the Stripers out of nowhere, and out of nowhere, we're out of here. No Coach James House Show next week, Ryan Mulvey, The Inside Drive, the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to be back Wednesday, Blast of Bay Point, 1240 Wednesday. Have a great afternoon.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Here comes the Thunder.
Listen to live play-by-play of America's team right here. First, it's the Braves at Truist versus the Marlins tonight. Coverage starts at 6. Then, Game 2 tomorrow. First pitch at 3:10. Sunday's game time, 12:35. Listen live on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Friday. For tonight, a chance of thunderstorms and mostly clear skies and a low of 80 with a calm wind around 3 miles per hour coming out of the west-southwest. Tomorrow morning, mostly sunshine with temps around 90. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 90. Moving into Sunday, the same with a high of 90 and some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore portable building dealer, Panama City.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're listening to the Ford Leadoff Show, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Conquer the roughest trails in the SUV created for adventurers everywhere. The rugged and unbridled Ford Bronco, built wild. Learn more at buyfordnow.com.
Kevin and Chris getting you set for the Braves and Marlins. Final segment here, and it's time now for our Prize Picks pick of the game. Get your first deposit matched up to $100 today by